A very familiar text that I would like to talk about for a few moments is 2 Corinthians 12. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Because Paul is struggling with something. We've been talking over the last few weeks from the subject, God, why are you killing me? Because sometimes you feel like God is not on your side. Instead of the great God that you know and love making things better and better, it seems the more you call on him, he seems to be letting them get worse and worse. Such was Paul's situation in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. It's hard to live in the sunshine when your life is full of fog. You know the sun is up there somewhere, you just can't see it because your vision, your sight of vision is very limited and very narrow. Paul says in verse 7 these words, because of the surpassing greatness of the revelations, for this reason, to keep me from exalting myself, there was given me a thorn in the flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me, to keep me from exalting myself. Paul says, I had a thorn. The Greek word for thorn was used of a splinter or a needle or a fish hook, the point of a fish hook. It was an ongoing irritation that he couldn't shake. He calls it a thorn. We've grown up and many of us have put our hands in the thorn bushes and have been cut and have that thorn stick. Perhaps you've had a thorn or a splinter in your finger and you couldn't get at it. You get a needle and you're digging and digging and digging. In fact, the more you try to get rid of it, the worse things get if you can't get rid of it. Because you're trying to get rid of it. You're trying to get rid of this thing, this situation, this pain, this needling, and it's driving you crazy. He says, I had a thorn in the flesh. It was related to my physical life. Now, Paul doesn't tell us what the thorn is. There are many guesses. We know from statements that Paul makes throughout the New Testament, he had eye problems. He says in one place, I've written with large letters so that you could read them, so that he had to be able to see to write. He talks about eyes in a number of cases. So yeah, they could have had an eye problem. So it could have been a physical thorn. He talks in another place about many of the burdens that he faced, distress and persecutions and all these mass shipwreck. And so it could have been a circumstantial burden in his life. Any number of burdens or needling. My guess. So I have some good news, even though you won't be happy to hear it. For those who have thorns, irritants that you want to shake and you're trying to shake, but they won't go away. God has something special for you. I've got good news for you. Now, you're feeling bad about it because it's a thorn, it's an irritant. But the good news is God has something special for you. If you read the first portion of chapter 12, Paul has been escorted into the third heaven to see things no other man has ever seen. He's the only man who has been escorted or translated to heaven who's been allowed to come back to earth to talk about it. He said, I saw things that are unlawful to utter. In other words, I can't even tell you what I saw. It would blow your mind, he says. I can't, I've been held in secret. It would be Paul who would author 13 books in the New Testament, the largest New Testament writer. It would be Paul who would pen the theology of the church, the book of Romans. It would be Paul who would be the master influencer of Christianity for the ages. God gave him a great revelation for a great purpose. So what I want you to do now in your thorn, if you happen to have one right now that you're dealing with, is I want you to know God has something special going on. The negative side of the thorn. To keep me from exalting myself. There was given me a thorn in the flesh, a messenger of Satan, to torment me. Ooh. So this thing is driving me crazy. To torment me. To keep me from exalting myself. The other reason God gives a thorn is to correct an actual or potential sin in our lives. Here was the sin of pride. See, when you've been to the third heaven and you're the only one that's been there, you're the only one on earth who can talk in detail about what heaven is like. There is nobody but you. You are the man. You are the one. It's easy to get the big head if you're the only one. And he's the only one. Nobody can do that but him. That tells us that Paul either had the problem or had the propensity for the problem of pride. So God put something in his life to keep him humble. Something in his life as a reminder that his anointing, his calling, he was never to become boastful about. Something that when he was tempted to exalt himself would pull him right back down. God put a needle to burst the balloon. Because you blow a balloon up, it gets the big head. It gets inflated. God kept this needle in there to torment him, to bring him back down to earth. So that means he had it or had the propensity for it. It's not that he didn't pray about it, verse 8. Concerning this, I implored the Lord 3 times that it might leave me. Lord, get this off of me. Get me away from this person. Get me away from this situation. Most gladly boast about my weakness. Now, that's not what we do. We complain about our weakness. Lord, this thing is killing me. This thing is driving me crazy. I can't make it. Blah, 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 blah. He said, I'm a brag about it. He says, if weak is how I get strong, since I want to be strong, I'm a brag about weak. Your weakness. See, we want to praise because it's all right. He says, praise when it's all wrong. Notice the responsibility. He says, power is perfected in weakness. I would rather boast in my weakness so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. In other words, I have it, I want to experience it. And what's going to make what I have my experience? My boasting. My making a big deal in the midst of my deep anguish. Therefore, I am well content with weaknesses, insults, distresses, persecutions, difficulties, for Christ's sake, because I'm maintaining my Christian position. For when I am weak, then I am strong. That goes against every fiber of our being. That goes against what's natural. That goes against every advice we would give anybody or that anybody would give us. That's not normal to boast in my weakness. To say, God, this thorn in my life, I pray that you take it. I want you to take it. He's not condemned for praying that it goes away. I want to be free from this thing. It's killing me. It's killing me. That was his prayer. He wasn't blamed for the prayer, but the answer. Paul, if I take away your thorn, you're going to miss my power. So Paul, which would you choose? Would you be thornless with no power, or have a thorn with great power? And I'm not being mean with the thorn. It's because I got a greater anointing for you, and I got to keep you humble. So the thorn is not trying to be mean, although it does hurt. When my son Anthony was small, and he had his first major asthma attack, and he needed a shot of epinephrine. And we took him to the doctor. And this is the first time he saw this long needle. And the doctor simply said to me, would you hold him down? Because as soon as he saw that needle coming, he went off. Because he was getting ready to get hit with a thorn, a needle. And I held him down, and he had one question as he screamed and hollered, why are you helping him hurt me? And that's what I was doing. I was helping the doctor hurt him because the doctor was going to hurt him with the needle. But I understood something he didn't understand. That in the pain of the needle would be the power that he needed to face the issue that he was dealing with. While you're waiting for your change, and it's okay to wait for your change.